Well, thank you very much for staying. And the issue we are trying to find out is the justice system in peril. I mean, this is coming from one of a very, very high authority, very well known, Justice William Atuguba. In addressing law students passing out, young students coming in today, he was probably warning them that, look, don't use the manual which your forebearers have used. Form your own manual. And what is the manual? Well, the Justice, the Attorney General's office, not very upfront in terms of pursuing case when it's the state versus anybody. When there's money involved, then we see so many judgment deaths left and right. The thing that they are at fault, indeed, is saying that the court system is a bit corrupt. The GMA is split into two. And so at every given time, there's half active and half inactive because it's the proverbial MPP, NDC. Can this be true? Can this be just blown out of proportion? My brother Morris, I mean, this is coming than no other than, Justice William Atuguba. So he holds a lot of water.
Yeah, definitely. I think good evening to the cherished viewers. I think that Justice Atuguba is a well-respected jurist of our land, very competent judge, and what I like about him is that he always speaks his mind and is forthright with whatever he says. Knowledgeable in the law and has a lot of experience practicing and then being on the bench and also being a Supreme Court judge, observing the bench, the bar, and the conduct of the Attorney General Department. I think that he has a lot of weight to speak to these issues. So I think that coming from such a person, eminent jurist, we can interrogate some of these statements and find out whether he actually spilled all the beans, or he said it as it is, or he was economical with some of his statements, because he's been cautious not to give a lot of examples and to cite examples. So I think that his statement carries a lot of weight, and we must put a lot of weight and important to the statement.
Let's start with the Attorney General's office. More than one, justice have come up and says, listen, I am not happy with the way you have followed this case. The sole commissioner says, this looks like create, loot, and share, the lackadaisical attitude towards you pursuing monies belonging to the state, your lack of willingness to, defend the state has come more than once. And now it's coming from Atuguba. So then there must be some truth in it.
Well, there is absolute truth. The conduct of some of our state attorneys and the Attorney General Department is not different from what happens in public service and the civil service. We pay lip services to the issues bothering the states. We don't protect the public spares. When it comes to the states, we are not so much keen in defending the states and also acting in the best interest of the states. And that's exactly what is happening at the Attorney General Department. You have an institution that is resourced by the states, and the lawyers over there have to work in the interest of the state. But what do we see? We see a lot of compromises at that institution. We see a lot of politicking. The institution has been politicized because the Attorney General is appointed by the President, a member of the Cabinet, a Minister of Justice, and at times a member of the ruling government. And whose interest will he serve? He will serve the interest of the state and at the same time the interest of the party. So from that angle, you can see that the Attorney General have a difficulty. Now, coming to the state attorneys, we know what is happening there.
Before I go, let's get the insert to get the conversation rolling. So let's hear what Justice William Atuguba said today at the event.
The fact that the judiciary has turned out to be one of the most permanent state institutions in Ghana underscores its relevance and value to national development. It is the capital to which the citizen can flee from any excesses, whether of public or private nature. Summary. From all the above, it is obvious that the legal community is probably the most visible community in national development in Ghana. However, the graph of his delivery has been undulating in recent times. From the glorious days of the Bar Association, which stood up consistently and strongly for the rule of law, today the same cannot be too readily said. There is a widespread perception that party politics has eaten deep into its ranks and clouded its potent militancy. It appears to be moved to speak out on important national issues from the slant of political party coloration. But it appears to be up to reclaim lost territory, and this is very much in the right direction. The Attorney General's office has also lost much of its glory. Its operation these days cannot be fairly matched with the days of A.N.E. Emisa, Taylor, Jekidako, etc. It is said that the conditions of service have for long stagnated there and may be the cause of his present situation. But this does not seem to be the exclusive factor. There were those days when, unlike today, high-ranking state officials, including former ministers of state, were prosecuted to conviction for various economic crimes. In the civil sector, we all know of several governmental international agreements which are founded at the Supreme Court. This downward turn of affairs can seriously damage the economy and retard national development. There is, however, an emerging trend of improvement in the Attorney General's Department in this regard. Academic publications seem to be on the decline also. I'm happy to hear the latest report on that situation as far as the School of Law is concerned, and I amend my comments on this issue accordingly. The situation with the judiciary is not too different. There is the deep-seated perception of corruption and even political partisanship. Indeed, recently, the Dean of the Law Faculty of Cape Coast University, Professor Bonzi Simpson, has in a media publication bemoaned the decline in the quality of the judiciary in terms of appointments into it. Here again, there is an emerging trend of improvement, particularly in faster justice delivery, particularly at the superior courts. In short, while the legal community has a very big role to play in national development and has done so commendably in the recent past, there has been a substantial decline in recent times in its output. And while things seem to be picking up, much has to be done by all its actors to reclaim its past vigor, standards, and public approbation.
Well, that was very deep. That's a very heavy statement.
Yeah, very heavy statement. But at the same time, you could see that Justice Atuba was actually restrained himself. He was very cautious, brief, but it can be more deeper. It can be more deeper. He has a lot to say, but I think that on that occasion, was very economical, very cautious in his statement, because when it comes to the three areas, when it comes to the Attorney General Department, he said really there are difficulties. Gone are those days, true. Chekidaku and Emisa, those days when state prosecutors were committed. They were not looking at money. They want to succeed in their prosecution. They go all out against public figures, against politicians, and they do it in such a way that at the end of the day, you can see that you cannot influence them. You cannot say it's of today. Today, there's a lot of interferences, political interferences, there's a lot of intimidation, and then influences. Most of the state attorneys are more influence, monetary influence here and there. We have situations where state attorney refuses to go and defend the state and compromise themselves. We have so many of those instances. So when it comes to Attorney General, I think that Justice Atuba was a little bit economical, very cautious. Now when it comes to the judiciary, corruption.
No, let's stay with the Attorney General, then we'll move. I mean, if I don't know if I can even ask for evidence, but if it is so perceived, why is there not some big investigation going on to say, look, investigate this department, because it feels as if they are not for the state, and if found, change it or something. Why do we just brush over it and go? I mean, if we are clear that those days when Jekedako, as the names are being mentioned, were there, and big state officials were tried and jailed if they went wrong. So what happened?
The issue is is about restructuring of that institution, and then rebranding that institution as the same way, separating the Attorney General office from the Minister of Justice. Let us have a true independent Attorney General standing differently, and then let's have the Minister of Justice being different, so that the Attorney General will be more independent and we can focus in actually restructuring that institution, getting more qualified and competent lawyers to be there. Let's also have lawyers who are external lawyers to support the Attorney General Department. Let's resource them. And also let's have performance appraiser. Let's begin to monitor the activities of state attorneys. When they give these cases, who supervise them? Who do they report to? And do the states the department get worried when they are losing more cases? I can't remember during President Atama's time, the state went to court and lost almost all their cases, and it became like, what is happening? Because they were allowing politics. The prosecution was based on put the person to court. The person is corrupt. There's no enough evidence gathered. The investigations are not more well done. Armchair investigations are done. Then the state attorney don't have enough evidence to go and prosecute. But political pressure, they go there and then they don't get the conviction. So we need a serious separation of the Attorney General Department from the current situation we find ourselves in. And then also let's have competent, let's resource them, and let's begin to monitor the activities. There's so much corruption. There's so much compromises there, and they know. You see,
another thing from a layman's point of view, what I find from the Attorney General's office is, let's say I steal this pen, so they're going to take me to court. And then you get there and the charge is like, malign and attempting to kill and rob. The charges are so huge. And I realize when they get there, you're unable to prove the charges. Even though everybody knows that clearly I took this pen and it was wrong. The charges that they take me to court with, sometimes I wonder where they come out from these charges. I find they're too big. Treason, armed robbery, attempted this. And then they go to court and the judge says, no, you can't prove that. So the person should go away. And not necessarily because the guy was innocent, but you are unable to prove, the charges that you brought. I don't know, you being in the legal field, if you find it's the same story.
Yes, definitely. What we do in this part of the world, in Ghana, you realize that we suspect people. We don't take time to investigate. We don't take time to do surveillance work, intelligence gathering. Then we go and arrest people, and then we don't have enough evidence. And then we charge them before we go to court and tell the judge that we are still investigating. So please remind the person. Meanwhile, you prefer charges against the person, and you don't have enough evidence. So now you realize that the state institutions will be now struggling to look for the evidence, and because you have arrested the person, all his accomplices are found somewhere. They are not the person that has what it takes to interfere with investigations. So now you find it difficult getting the evidence. Then the state begins to tell the judge, please give us time. We are still investigating. Then the judge will begin to, what is happening? You've charged the person. Then the defense counsel start putting pressure on the court. My lord, my clients have been charged. It's not being billed. The case is still being delayed. And another day, the judge gets so frustrated, annoyed, start warning the state attorney. Then all of a sudden, before we realize the case is what strike out for what on prosecution. And that's exactly what we are having. Because we don't take time to investigate. We don't take time to study the law, criminal law, and the charges are not properly done. We rush to the wrong courts, and then we don't have enough evidence to prove our cases. And that's exactly what we're having. And I can tell you some of them are deliberate. Some of them are deliberate because, when you want to save an accused person, what you need to do is to prefer wrong charges and also get weak evidence or no evidence at all. And another day, that is exactly what has happened in most of the cocaine cases. We take them to court, and we don't have the necessary evidence, and then it's adjournment, and the judge also becomes so frustrated and says, look, strike out. And then at times the state enter the protocol. We are not interested. So that is the situation we find ourselves in. So some of them are deliberate, others are a sign of incompetency, and then a lack of honesty on our part, that we fail to do the right thing, and then at the end of the day, we don't get the right results.
Let me divert a bit and then we come back, move away from Atugu. But this literally Justice for All program going out, and I think they're talking to remand prisoners. And if obviously the policeman is not coming back for you, they're free. I mean, what's your position and what should be done?
Well, definitely it's a good initiative, but I think more have to be done. We need to look at the concepts and then look at the procedures and how often are we being sincere with the Justice for All program? Is it a way of just showcasing to the public that we are working? You see, because there's a lot of injustices, right from the arrest and prosecution. And there's a lot of dishonesty along the line. You know, people are wrongly charged. People are not giving bail. Bail justice is for sale. Bail is for sale. Wrong people are accused. And then at the end of the day, what we do is that we don't have the system to ensure that those we put before the court are monitored, are properly charged, and quickly tried. So we have a situation whereby we have a lot of remand prisoners, and we have a lot of injustice being done to these remand prisoners. The conditions are so bad. So then we have this havoc situation. Let's go there and pretend we are doing something. And at the end of the day, what are we doing? We have thousands of remand prisoners, and we go and free about 10. So the system is not working. We need to change the system. Once we begin to change the system, we don't even need justice for all, because the system will be very effective, efficient, transparent, and then at the end of the day, we will get the best out of the system. But what we do is that we have weak system, weak institution, corrupt practices, procedures wrong, and then at the end of the day, we want to correct it with an havoc situation like Justice for All. To me, it's not effective. We can do more.
But you see, can there be a situation where the policeman who throws misplaced the file or went on transfer and therefore left the prisoner there to rot, be penalized or punished or something? Can there be a situation like that to deter, so that at least the policeman can follow through their cases?
Yeah, definitely we can. If institutions are working, if the CID and the Attorney General Department, and as well as the judge. So because if you're a judge, an accused person is brought before you, remanded, and then his court days is due, and he is not brought to court, you should be worried. You should begin to ask questions. Where is the person you remanded? But you have situations where judges at times don't bother. The prosecution comes to court and say, my lord, we cannot bring the accused person because we didn't have the means of transport. At times, remand prisoners are forced to pay money before they are brought to court. So if you have a CID want to punish you, he refuses to bring you to court, you have a system whereby the prison services also, there's a lot of bureaucracy over there, paperwork and unnecessary bureaucracy over there. So we have a situation whereby there's so much injustice in the system. So you find that at the end of the day, the person is remanded, and then we leave the person, and then the warrant even expires, nothing is done. Only for Joy FM to bring the matter up, then the Chief Justice comes in, oh, we have to do something about it. It's a shame.
Coming back to the Chief Justice, if you were the Attorney General, if you are Attorney General today, how would you feel, knowing that it's big boiler that has slated the office there? Look, back in the day, it was much better than this.
I think what I'll call for is a quickly separation. I don't want to be an Attorney General who will be a Minister of Justice and an advisor to the government of the day and a member of the government. We need an Attorney General who will be very independent, appointed like the board, the head of SHRAJ, appointed as the head of the National Commission for Security Education, and then very independent. His term of office is secured. You know, an Attorney General who leaves office when his party leaves office, and an Attorney General who is ready to defend his people, his party position. Attorney General who can be influenced by the president of the day, because party consideration, political consideration will outweigh. And then we have a situation whereby the law allows Attorney General to withdraw cases, to prefer charges at will. He can decide to enter another prosecution without giving reasons, and then he can decide to prosecute. So we need an independent Attorney General.
Why did the framers of the Constitution make it like that?
I think that they had good intentions. They thought that being Attorney General and a lawyer, you should be more independent and looking at the interests of the state, being the state a lawyer, and also being there to ensure that you defend the cause of the state. Then they decided to marry that you can become a cabinet minister so that you can have a lot of information from cabinet, and then when you're advising cabinet on an issue. But now we have abused the system. We have people who actually have sold their conscience. We have people who actually love their party more than the state. We have people who actually want to gain more than the masses. So what has happened? A lot of attorney generals go out there and they fail to deliver. They want to deliver on party programs and policies and manifestos, but not the manifesto of the state. And so we have attorney generals who will quickly allow judgment debts.
Let me acknowledge Dr. Opoku Oduse, who is a law lecturer at University of Ghana. Doctor, you're welcome. Hello, have I got Doctor on the line?
Hello, yeah, good evening.
Good evening, you're welcome, Doctor.
Thank you.
Well, today your senior colleague has really, I would say a very deep statement, or very factual. I was going to say, well, kind of bosswasam. And we're here discussing. I have with me in studio Dr. Maurice Ampa, who's also your colleague lawyer. And we are on the case of the Attorney General. And I just wanted to find out, and let me ask you, if you were the Attorney General today and you hear your senior colleague saying that back in the day, that was an office to be respected, but today, you can't boast of what happened in those days, how would you feel?
Well, I didn't get a full import of the question. Can you come a bit again?
Very good. I was talking about the Attorney General's office. And Justice William Atuguba is saying that back in the days, it was a force to be reckoned. When the likes of Chekedaku were handling them, they could arrest senior ministers or they could try senior ministers. But today, it's not like that. And I'm saying, if you were handling such an office, how would you feel?
That's a quite loaded question. First of all, I believe that they will have to do some basic things right. And one of the things that I find worrying is the serious gulf between the Attorney General's office and how they give legal advice to the service. The bulk of prosecutions in this country is done by the police, because the crimes that we normally encounter are not those that involve robbery and high, normally indictable offenses. They are the petty thievery and those kinds of offenses which is common in society. So if the police most often have to report to the AG's office before they can prosecute the case, and the advice is, then there's a problem. So that is where they will have to equip the police service so that they can prosecute more of the cases instead of making referrals to the AG's office in order to avoid some of the delays that cause the Chief Justice and the Attorney General to come out with the remand prisoners program.
I see. But generally, what overhaul can be done to bring back the credibility? If I move to the Ghana Bar Association, this is once upon a time, that was an association that stood up and fought for the average citizen. But today, because of political colorization, they're a bit quiet or a bit slanted in their opinions.
Well, it requires a whole institutional overhaul on the part of the GPA. I would say that a number of factors have coalesced to cause that kind of change, or I would say reduction in the stature of the organization. You can't rule out political polarization as one of the issues, but you can't also rule out the fact that there has been some moderation in how governance is structured in this country. So in the past, where we had very radical regimes in which people were detained without trial and people who were arrested and imprisoned with that kind of environment, then realize that the agitation from an institution as credible as the Ghana Bar Association will be more. So that's why they were prominent in those times. But now, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, every person in Ghana is able to have access to the court system to challenge any act or omission which is undertaken by another person, including that of the president. So that has actually emboldened persons to know that they have recourse themselves instead of waiting for the Ghana Bar Association to act. And another thing is that there's been an increase in the number of NGOs and organizations that are involved in what human rights activists call Rights Talk. And these activists have also taken on board some of the burdens that were on the Ghana Bar Association, and they are acting accordingly. So the burden in some way, which hitherto was on the GBA, is now being taken over by a number of associations, and therefore the workload is gone down. It doesn't mean that they can continue to improve and do more so that they can represent the Ghanaian interest.
Doctor, let me come here. Let me come here before you move in. I mean, once upon a time, because of the regime, there was, maybe people in prison without trial and everything. But I mean, we are looking at today and the level of human rights abuse for even those who are properly convicted and those who have been left on remand and the keys locked, where now justices have to trot up and down, trying to free people. So it's still, rampant, rife, and with impunity. So still, I think, the Ghana Bar Association should still champion this cause.
Well, as I said, they can do more than they are doing now. But the reality is that access to justice delivery generally is improved when you compare it with what was happening in the 1980s, where you could even get a judgment and then you will not be able to enforce it against the government because you go and meet Jabibili and those kind of guys. And they are more than a court themselves. No court can summon them. But now those, threats and superior state powers have all come down to some extent and become amenable to the justice delivery system. To that extent, I would say that we have quite a moderate system. The democratic dispensation is working to some extent. And for that reason, you wouldn't expect an organization which is serving as a counter force to battle the government and safeguard the interests of Ghanaians as it used to be. But we can do more and help protect Ghanaians. As I was about saying, if you look at how recent fees of filing fees in civil matters have become, realize that I believe the GBA could have done more looking at the kind of persons that lawyers actually represent in the country.
Dr. Lisa, hold on. Let me bring your colleague, Dr. Morris, in here. Dr. Abba, they said they think they can do more. If you listen to what Jasakugu said, that back in the day they were very vocal. What do you mean by they can do more? Because I still find there's equal amount of impunity, equal amount of lack of human rights in the system. Yes, the courts are working and there's rule of law, but there's still the other side, which is not good at all.
Yeah, I think that we must first look at the mandate of the Ghana Bar Association. What's the Ghana Bar Association? What does it stand for? What are its aims and objectives? What do they want to achieve? So if we are there to bring lawyers together, the Ghana Bar Association is one association. You can form, you can decide. Not all lawyers can decide to be there. You can decide to have your own association as per the law says. So this is an association of lawyers who have come together to protect their interests, to ensure that they have good ethics and promote their interests, and at the same time have some impact on society. But the difficulty and the challenge now at the Ghana Bar Association is that we, apart from politicization, which is normal, because in Ghana here, everything has been politicized. Even the bench have been politicized. Everything, the media have been politicization. So that is not too much a challenge than what the bar is failing to do. The bar is failing to be the voice for the voiceless. We are not seeing the Ghana Bar Association going out there and doing a lot of pro bono cases in the name of the Ghana Bar Association, sponsoring lawyers, people to go and then help the poor. Now the bar also in terms of education. We are not seeing the bar leading in educating the ordinary Ghanaian. Look at the legislative petition hearing. What was the role of the Ghana Bar Association? And rather came out threatening. People should not speak. Some of us were threatening that why are we educating the public? Are you getting me? Meanwhile, the bar has a duty to educate the public. So if there's a legislative petition hearing, and then we have the Bar Association being interested, what you do is that you sponsor your own people, resource them, have a radio station, a television station, in the name of the Ghana Bar Association, and educate the public. So their failure to educate the public, their failure to also be the mouthpiece for the ordinary Ghanaian, and their failure to be neutral in holding government accountable. That is where we have brought us together. Right now, the bar is somehow divided. Because there's a perception out there that some leaders fight. Some current leaders belongs to the NDC, and then some former leaders belongs to the NDC. You know, the former Osambels came out to issue a statement, and then people rose against that statement. He painted, and today, Osambels is the minister in the NDC government. Then we have the current situation where you have people like the Greater Accra Regional Bar, who is also one of the legal team for the Nakufado, and then Megache, and people are perceiving them also to be MPP. So you have situation whereby Amaliba and Co, when they speak, they want to attack them. So that is exactly what is happening. But if you have the bar coming out very neutral, leaving politics aside and then dealing with the other Ghanaian, let's look at the issues that confront the judiciary. The judiciary is somehow corrupt, not perceived, real. What is the bar doing? The bar, are they there for the poor and the needy? There's so much injustice. The bar sat down and there's an increase in legal fee. The former legal fee with the other person cannot afford. Then we have members of the bar going there and approving of a filing fee, which is actually selling justice. We are selling justice. Then we have the bar. The other person cannot feed the bar. They are not providing pro bono cases. They are not educating Ghanaians. They are not making any impact. So Desasuba is right. And when it comes to politics, they are divided. So we need to look at the Ghana Bar Association critically and see what can we do as an association to impact on society. Education, empower them. Let's be there for the poor. Let's do a lot of charity work. Let's be heard in every area. There are so many injustices in the church. What is the one about association saying about the corruption in the church and then the abuse of religious powers? What is the one about association talking about corruption in the judiciary? We have members of the bar who cannot win case unless they bribe judges. There are some members of the bar, but the bar association is quiet on that. There's a lot of misconduct going on. You see, and the bar association is quiet on that. And then the bar association is not actually on the ground. The other person cannot feel them. How many people know? They already know that there's a Ghana Bar Association. So that is the problem, the challenge they face. And we need to look at the bar once again, go back to our mandate, and then when we look inwardly, let's strengthen the Ghana Bar Association. Let's stop the vindictiveness. When members of the bar want to help, let's support. And let's support one another. Let's see to be one. And let's have an agenda where at the end of the day, when we raise national issues, we look at it from the national angle and deal with the issues and let leadership respect the ordinary members of the bar and let's also try to compliment each other than to come and spite each other in public.
I'm going to take a break here, and then when I come back, I'm going to find out from my two eminent lawyers that as educated as they are, yes, nobody says don't have a political alienation, but if an issue comes about with all this education, why can't we just leave our politics aside and just deal with the issue as it confronts us? We're coming straight back. Well, thank you very much for staying. Very insightful, very interesting, and seriously serious. But we all need to sit down at the table and rework it, because at every given time, you and I could find ourselves at one end of justice, and you would need proper and good, fair justice upon you. And if you don't get it right, you could be in trouble. But have I got Doctor on the phone still? Good. Dr. Poku?
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Poku, I'm just trying to find out that, yes, I know we are a bit politically, if I may use the word, drunk as a people, but coming from lawyers, with all your reading and education and your background, if an issue is wrong, I wonder why lawyers would split up and say, well, I'm for it and I am against it. I thought you would come together as one voice because of the crop of people that you are.
Well, that is supposed to be the ideal situation. But in practical terms, you realize that, as the saying goes, when the trap catches an animal, the sound is different, and when it misses it, it's also different. Some people may follow their called political morals and then decide to engage in acts because they want to serve their self-interest. In that case, it's just the human nature of the person which is actually, influencing the person to behave that way. So even if he is well educated and he goes to what extent, that will still not be able to change the person's way of thinking and way of life. So in that case, the law will not change you completely. And I think that is what is happening. We are not saying that no one can belong to a certain ideology. We know that the right, wing movement is predominant in the legal community. It doesn't mean that you can belong to the left and still think of the right things to do in the legal community and ensure that justice delivery is enhanced. So if you're able to separate that, then there's no problem. But the difficulty is that the country is polarized, and one way by which people think that they can make ends meet is to associate themselves with the kind of politics that we do in this country. And so that if they are lucky and the government comes to power, then they can benefit from it. In that case, it's like trying to live on the lives of the state, and I think it's an unexamined way of living.
Well, that's a very dangerous for the nation.
Definitely. I agree totally with Dr. Edu say on that issue. He has said it. We have a lot of lawyers instead of concentrating on the legal profession and actually contributing their quota. Rather, early, when they call to the bar quickly, they join political parties, and true, they succeed. They are made ministers, and then quickly their condition of service changes, and then you realize that people have realized that the another means by which you can enhance your status and make it more money is to enter into politics. We have a lot of junior lawyers who either have not even practiced, but today they are ministers of state because of politics. So it has become more attractive, and people have taken advantage of that, and that is politicizing the bar, because at the end of the day, they are more powerful. When their government is in power, they are untouchable. When you touch them, they use the state coercion to deal with you. So I think I agree with Dr. Duke on that score.
You see, there's a new crop of lawyers coming in, and obviously Justice Tukuba was addressing them. Will they be able to change the status quo, or unfortunately they will be consumed into the status quo?
Whatever, they will be consumed, because you see, practicing is a difficult thing to do. It's very difficult because you pay yourself, and it's not easy. There are more seniors over there, and the clients are not paying these days, and there are so many challenges, there are so many frustrations. So young lawyers find it difficult. You know, society is looking at the lawyers. If you're a lawyer, you cannot eat at the chop bar. If you're a lawyer and you walk on the street, people don't give you cases. If you're a lawyer, you're a junior lawyer, you serve with your seniors, you are not being paid, and then when you are going to marry, the woman and the man want to say, my daughter is married a lawyer, so the stakes are high. So you need to drive a nice car, and then you need to upgrade yourself. So there's pressure. So now these days, what do the junior lawyers do? Let me join into politics. Let me be a member of parliament, and quickly, I'm on top. So you have a situation whereby you are a lawyer for 40 years, and somebody is called to the bar and is made a minister.
Dr. Adusei, you are training, you are a lecturer at University of Ghana. Obviously, you are training this new crop who are coming in. How are you shaping their minds so that they don't get consumed into the status quo?
Well, one way that I do mine is to actually encourage the students to focus on areas of the law where they can make the best impact. Mm-hmm. You know, people think that the law is about just being in practice. I'm talking of being at the bar and then going to court, defending cases when matters should not even be ending up in court. So people believe that, being a lawyer is when you are litigating. I think that is quite dated an idea. And I always encourage them to focus on areas that can work for them. For instance, when I was coming up, when I was about finishing law school, mm-hmm. My focus was to look at areas where we have less expertise in this country. And that actually took me to focus on intellectual property law. areas of copyright, trademarks, patents, industrial designs, and those areas. Because that's where, the direction of technology now. And when technology is interacting with the law, these are the areas of the law that they will be needed. So my master's was in copyright, my PhD was in patents and development studies from McGill. And basically, I encourage them that if you look at that sport, that's an area, a gray area more or less, an area which is not over-elaborated, then you can go there and make an impact. And one thing also that I encourage them to do is to look at even law reporting in this country. Realize that our law reports, the latest one is about 2009 to 2010, which means that we are about 6 years behind.
Okay.
So we need a lot of staff in that area. Why don't you go and understudy someone like S.Y. Bimpombuta, Dr. Bimpombuta, who basically is now in the, I won't say in the beginning of his life, but is in the twilight of his career because he's aging. And if you're able to understudy such a man to learn about the techniques of law reporting, you will be able to make a lot of money through it instead of going to court and sitting there and chasing cases that can last sometimes for 5 years before you get the conclusion.
Doctor,
you will not be able to enforce it.
Very good. Let me come in here because you mentioned something that triggers. In this country, don't we take too many cases to court? Because if I was, let's say in the UK, you go and see a solicitor, he writes to the solicitor, and it's very rare for the case to move from the solicitor to the barrister before it goes to court. Most often, they're able to sort it at the solicitor level. Aren't we rushing everything to court here?
Well, that is being the thinking, and I think the kind of training that persons receive or students receive in this country is also a contributing factor. That they think that going to court is where you are going to get a remedy. But over there, the thinking is different because the ADR system works very well. They have trained mediators, arbitrators, who at the end of the day, upon hearing the parties, can come out with an award which has the same potency as a judgment of a court. And people believe the system, that it will work. So that's the kind of system that have been introduced by the Chief Justice. And I think she was also one of the persons who was mediating even at the magistracy level. So she's shown interest in it. It's part of our commercial court practice. And I think that we need to strengthen it and make sure that we get the right persons to man the ADR approaches. We can get people going there and trusting the system.
Very good.
Taking every matter to court.
Very good. Let me bring Dr. here on the same question. We're taking too many cases to court.
Not too many. I think that people don't know that lawyers, we do a lot of settlements with other lawyers. We write and then we try to settle. So most cases are settled on a quiet note.
Okay.
Yes, and that is not done in the public. We have to write cases. We try to write each other. We meet and resolve issues. But the thorny ones, the difficult ones that we cannot resolve, then we either go for ADR and then all to the traditional courts to resolve those matters. So the problem is that the cases are too many for the court to manage, and that is the difficulty now. We are sending a lot of cases to court because people are now aware of their rights and they want to assert those rights, and the court is facing a lot of challenges because we don't have a lot of court infrastructure. We have challenge with the number of judges, and then management of the cases have become difficult. So whilst cases are being disposed of, more are being filed. And that is the difficulty we find ourselves in. So we need to improve technology to take over these cases. But we must encourage out-of-court settlements more. And that is exactly what a lot of lawyers are doing. When you settle cases out of court, you get the money quickly, and you move on to other cases. And it leads to the benefit of the lawyers.
But I tend to find the culture is the courtroom first rather than out of the court first. It's like everything in court.
Yeah, we are those who like litigation. They are there. We are saying a lot of people out of frustration would like to resolve the matter. In fact, then the ADR2 is working. A lot of people, we have ADR week, and then most cases are resolved through that. But at the end of the day, some are litigants by nature. They want to be at the court. They want to see that they win cases through the traditional courts. And those people, you cannot fault them. But at the end of the day, we are doing a lot of out-of-court settlements on a quiet note among lawyers, and then the ADR also is working.
How do we get this ball rolling so that next year, if Justice Atuguba is called to address he can give a different speech. How do we get the ball rolling?
You know, I think that we need to look at the bar critically, and then the Attorney General critically, and also the court system, justice system. That's why I said that Atuba was economical with the truth, because we know of some of the rots at the bench. We know. It's not only perception as well. Lawyers have dealt with corrupt judges. Clients have dealt with corrupt judges. There are clients who have gone to give some judges money, and it is there. So the corrupt judges know themselves. Then we have also influences. It's when we talk of corruption, it's not only money. It's not only money. These days we have situations whereby lawyers have friends who are at the bench. So I don't see why, if I'm your colleague and you are at the bar, I will refuse to file a case before you. But there are people who file cases and then they find themselves that the case is before their colleague, and then some judges don't refuse to excuse themselves. And so then the difficulty is that at the bench too, while Atuba is looking at the bar, Ghana Bar Association, and also looking at the AG, there's also challenges, and the Chief Justice can testify to that. But the difficulty is that
about the judiciary being perceivably corrupt and politically aligned.
And he said real. He said there's perception and real. And politically aligned, yes, because we have people who came to accuse, during the correlation petition, there are people who came to accuse some judges to be MPP, and others also perceived to be NEC. But the issue is that, you see, this perception, how do you resolve it? And the real. These days, the way we investigate corruption, the disciplinary committee, complaint unit, if the Chief Justice is watching me, I'm using the platform, that the way we are investigating allegation of corruption is nothing to write home about.
Why did you say that?
People send complaint to the complaint unit, then it is referred to the Office of Chief Justice, and they don't invite parties for interrogation. Then you see letters written that there's no prevention case. Let me give you an example of mine. I have a case currently that I'm handling. A party came to bribe me with 800 million cedis, 80,000 Ghana cedis. I refused to take that money. It's an allegation that he has also corrupted a judge. I wrote a petition 14 times. The Office of the Chief Justice have refused to investigate the matter, and they've written to me to say that there is no prevention case. When a lawyer have alleged that somebody is bribing me, and the Chief Justice is watching, somebody is bribing me, give me the platform and let me prove. You see, so I don't know, what is happening is that people have lost confidence in the investigation of it. So there will be selective justice. Some cases, we take interest in those cases. When the Shrag woman issue came, you see the interest. When a lawyer makes allegation, serious allegation, that a party attempted bribing me, and I'm not given the opportunity to go there and put the evidence, but a letter comes and says that there's no prevention case.
That's a bit...
It's serious. And I'm so disappointed that I'm going to take this matter up. So that perception. So you realize that I looked like a fool. And the person who attempted bribery was laughing at me. That you damn fool. If you have taken the 800 million cedis.
You've been better.
Thank you. And the people have money. So how can you say that you are investing in corruption? When somebody makes a serious allegation like that, and then you don't give the opportunity to be heard, and the Office of Justice write a letter to say that there's no prima facie case. Now you realize that the complaint unit is suffering. People have lost confidence. And if you don't take it seriously, people will now take the law into their own hands. So we must be very serious in fighting corruption. When there is allegation of corruption, let's sincerely allow parties to come and prove their case.
Thank you very much, my brother, Dr. Maurice Ampao. Thank you very much, Dr. Poku Edusei. Well, that's your judiciary in brief, and maybe we'll come back and continue this subject because it has just begun. Folks, thank you very much for watching. Tomorrow we'll be back to do it all over again. Production was done by Nikote. Thank you and thumbs up.